Judge expected to make a ruling on Potape's application tomorrow. Female constable faces court today on charges of abuse of office. And husband of murdered wife refused bail.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Tuesday's news. The Supreme Court is expected to rule tomorrow on an urgent application regarding the position of Hela Governor. Justice Bernard Sakora will make a ruling on a stay application sought by Como Magarima MP Francis Potape following an earlier ruling by the National Court recognizing Anderson Agiru as Hela Governor. Lawyers for Como Magarima MP Francis Potape filed the application today to have Potape declared Hela Governor after a majority of Assembly members voted to remove Governor Agiru late last year.
Presiding Judge Bernard Sakora will make the ruling first thing tomorrow morning. He said lawyers from both sides have filed a detailed submission to which he cannot make any ruling today. Judge Sakora said this in respect to the rights and the interest of the people of Hela Province. While presiding over the matter in court today, Judge Sakora commented that sub judice is not respected these days. He said people should not talk publicly on matters that are before the courts. He said this following comments made by provincial and local level government affairs minister Leo Dion and the opposition leader Don Pollier. Dion publicly recognized Potape as Hela Governor, prompting Pollier to criticize the government on its decision. Meanwhile, the matter will return to court on the 19th of February this year. Vasinata Yama, National EMTV News.
The National Court has today refused a bail application by Sports Administrator Billy Aki. Presiding Judge Justice Sally Koget, in his ruling, said the medical grounds presented by Aki's lawyers were invalid. Aki was arrested and charged for the willful murder of his wife on the 31st of December in Port Moresby.
Sports Administrator Billy Aki was represented by the Twivi lawyers today for his bail application hearing. However, presiding Judge Sally Koget told the court the medical grounds presented by Aki's lawyers were not sufficient to allow him for bail. Aki was arrested and charged for the willful murder of his wife a day after New Year's Eve at the Connie Tigers Oval. Aki's refusal of bail will see him remain at the Bomana jail pending fresh bail application by his lawyers. Meanwhile, relatives of Aki's wife have refused a compensation presented by Aki's relatives. Mr. Aki started beating his wife at the Connie Tigers Oval after arguing with her over some money.
Like, can killing way, Billy Aki working law, this sister, it's of animalistic.
I mean, party member one time on the DY or Timba or the development plan of clear. I mean, put down.
She was rushed through the Guerrero Hospital but later taken to Port Moresby General and died 2 days later. Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
The female probationary constable alleged to have been involved in the condom-eating saga made her first appearance at the committal court in Port Moresby this morning. Constable Jacqueline Tanda from Enga was charged for deprivation of personal liberty and abuse of office. Tanda is alleged to have filmed the video of a female victim as she was forced to chew and swallow condoms last December.
The committal court held that on 4 December 2015, probationary constable Jacqueline Tanda and two of her male colleagues took in the young woman for questioning at the Boroko police station. Tanda and her colleagues asked the woman to empty her bilum, including her wallet. They found 7 male condoms from her bilum, and the police officers interviewing her asked her to chew and swallow the condoms. The court held that after the victim swallowed 2 condoms, she refused to swallow the third. Tanda and her male accomplices then questioned the victim if she had recent sexual intercourse with any expatriates and asked her to perform these sexual acts. Tanda's lawyer filed a bail application after Magistrate Cosmo Bidar stated the charges. However, police prosecutor Sergeant Polon objected to the bail, stating that it was filed an hour before the hearing. Following this, Magistrate Bidar adjourned the bail application to tomorrow morning. Tanda was taken back to the Boroko police station, where she is currently detained. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Relatives of Nelson Rema, who was shot and killed by police at Port Moresby's Waigani area, are questioning the progress of police investigations into his death. Nelson was shot in November last year, allegedly by police. Speaking to MTV late today, Nelson's elder brother, Nathan, questioned NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Ben Turi's actions in relation to arrests and suspension of officers who commit crimes, especially regarding Nelson's brutal killing. Moving on, and Police Commissioner Gary Baki said the recent upgrading of Wapenamanda Police Station and Police Barracks was because of strong ties between the RPNGC and the political leaders. Commissioner Baki said this following the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between the RPNGC and the Wapenamanda District Development Authority officials recently. The MOU signals the implementation of effective law and order within the district. Eric Haurupma with this report.
An MOU was signed between the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary and Wapenamanda District Development officials in Wapenamanda recently. This MOU consolidates the major works between these two organizations in terms of effectively carrying out policing in the area. This partnership saw the recent upgrading of Wapenamanda Police Barracks, Police Station and the newly constructed Police Armory. A minute received by EMTV today containing details of this agreement. Core areas of objective will be achieved through this partnership.
This is the step I believe that we should link it up together with our approach now, particularly in the districts, where your political leaders are talking about supporting police infrastructure in the district. I think that's the approach we should take. So it gives a dual responsibility.
Commissioner Baki said through this MOU, the Wapenamanda DDA will help the RPNGC to enhance police capacity to effectively carry out their constitutional duties and operations. It also signifies mutual understanding between these organizations in terms of support so that police service will be maintained throughout the district.
So we in Wapenamanda district see the work of law and order and police in particular as very pivotal to the development of the district. So consequently, we have fully renovated the police station, built a new armory, renovated plenty of police officers.
He said the government wants to ensure there is accountability and transparency in the police force, and so police assets and resources should be available to address law and order issues. Minister Pato said this will pave way for other infrastructure development to come into the area like health services, education, rural investments and markets.
New rural police stations in 3 of our constituencies in Lola, on the border, and also in South Valley. These are areas that the Commissioner himself is very familiar with.
Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says the LPV system will be used in the 2017 national elections. Don't go away. Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has clarified concerns relating to the upcoming national general election in 2017. Mr. O'Neill said the limited preferential voting system will still be used in the 2017 elections. He also urged the Election Steering Committee to discuss with the Electoral Commission to come up with a realistic election budget figure.
The Prime Minister addressed questions on matters relating to the upcoming national election in a media conference held yesterday. He was asked about the 182 million kina budget proposed by the Electoral Commission to assist with preparations for the 2017 general election. Reports said the Electoral Commission asked the government for 192 million kina in the 2016 national budget, but was assigned only 10 million kina. Mr. O'Neill said the Election Steering Committee, headed by the Chief Secretary, needed to sit down with the Electoral Commission to come up with a realistic figure.
I've urged our team to sit down with the Electoral Commission to come down to realistic figures. A country of 8 million people cannot afford to spend over $500 million kina on elections and every elections. That is unheard of in the democratic world like ours. So we need to think of a smarter way to deliver a free and fair election on time, and all these cost overruns need to stop. Whatever amounts that they come up with, it is the responsibility of government to find that money. We will, of course, go to Parliament on the 22nd of March, and we will accommodate whatever changes that we have to do on that occasion.
The Prime Minister was also asked about talks that the 2017 general election will see the country revert back to the former first-past-the-post voting system. Mr. O'Neill dispelled these claims, saying Cabinet never deliberated on this matter and that there would be no change to the use of the limited preferential voting system in the 2017 general election.
Cabinet has never deliberated on this matter. There is no discussion about whether we change the system of voting or not in the country. So where this is coming from, I don't know.
Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
The Tourism Promotion Authority has welcomed the appointment of Justin Chichenko as the new Minister for Tourism, Arts and Culture. This comes a day after Prime Minister Peter O'Neill announced a minor cabinet reshuffle. Acting TPA Chief Executive Officer Peter Vincent said the tourism sector in PNG was excited to work with a minister like Mr. Chichenko, who has a no-nonsense approach to work and one who is passionate and result-driven. Mr. Vincent said TPA's key challenges include addressing impediments to tourism growth such as visa issues, law and order, and the general opinion that PNG continues to have with ongoing negative publicity both in Papua New Guinea and overseas. To East New Britain, and new figures gathered by the East New Britain Tourism Authority have given a positive outlook on East New Britain's tourism industry. An estimated 17,000 foreign tourists visited the province on cruise ships in 2015, but the Provincial Tourism Authority says they want to bring in more. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
In the East New Britain province, war relics and volcanoes are what holiday brochures are made of. While East New Britain has been named one of the major tourism hubs in the country, the Provincial Tourism Authority calls it a faceless concept that needs to be nurtured.
Giving options to them.
Gard Ranson is the man heading the Provincial Tourism team, which is trying to piece together a tourism master plan to make the concept workable.
In the long run, we need some good funding on that one because there is nothing in place at the moment. At the moment, I can confidently say that we cannot accommodate for 2,000 visitors.
Until recently, the large influx of tourists coming to the province has spurred a need to build more infrastructures to meet the growing demand. Now, to give you a clear picture of what I'm talking about, at least 17,000 tourists came here on cruise ship last year and left on the next day. Now, the Tourism Authority says they are looking at avenues to attract more tourists and keep them for a much longer period in the province.
We need to have extra products, tourism products, where we can hold them longer. So if they can stay 2 days, the cruise ship can stay 2 days here, that's better for us. That's where the money comes in.
Meanwhile, the provincial government has allowed its tourism authority to look into various sectors that have remained largely untapped over the years. But first, it has to fix its backlog of problems, such as issues surrounding its communication network, its rundown health and road services, building new accommodation infrastructure, and maintaining existing ones.
Over a period of time, we will need at least 350 to 500 million over a period of time to get all these basics in place.
Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
And now a look at the finance news. The kina closed unchanged at $0.3325 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3250 $0.4611 Australian dollars, $0.2958 euro, and 37.96 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, coffee and cocoa closed higher, while gold and copper closed the day lower. palm oil, crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed at 116 points higher, the ASX closed 13 points higher, and the All Ordinaries closed 12 points higher. You're watching National MTV News. We'll have more local and international news after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. Sea piracy remains a threat in parts of Morobe waters due to the lack of a comprehensive response by police in creating a water police unit. However, Rural Coordinator Chief Inspector David Warrap says this is a policy matter for the constabulary. Martha Lewis with this report.
Police are fully aware of sea piracy incidences where passengers are left stranded on boats after being robbed, but they cannot do much as they rely on the assistance of others. Police are advising whoever is willing to assist transport stranded passengers must wait for police assistance, as armed suspects may still be close by. Meanwhile, the call for police personnel to be stationed at Morobe is long overdue and is currently being looked at by the Provincial Police Command. And police also has a major part to play and are looking for the best techniques to minimize acts of sea piracy. Chief Inspector David Warrap explained sea piracy is one of the points that will be discussed once the Morobe Provincial Police Command meets with the Assistant Commissioner for the Northern Division. The meeting will be held in March to discuss the division's 3-year strategic plans. Sea piracy is a new experience for village leaders. People living along the coastal waters are greatly affected by it, and as a result, they are looking for solutions to deal with it. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Ley.
Turning abroad now, and at least 3 migrants have drowned yesterday when their boat capsized off the coast of Turkey. Turkish Coast Guards have recovered the bodies, including that of a 5-year-old. 13 survivors were rescued. The flow of refugees and migrants braving the seas seeking sanctuary in Europe dipped towards the end of last year, coinciding with colder weather, but the total figure still reached 1 million in 2015, nearly 5 times more than in the previous year.
Let me be very clear about this. It is our collective responsibility. Turkey cannot solve this without the EU. The EU can certainly not solve this without Turkey. So let's put, work on this shoulder to shoulder. I'm really encouraged by the meetings I've had today. I think we're going to really make progress now. We are still not doing a good enough job at protecting our external borders. We need to step up our efforts. The European Commission is in favour of a European border and coast guard. I hope member states will follow us in that reasoning.
4 people were killed and 10 injured on Sunday in an attack on a hospital in northern Yemen. While it is still not clear who was behind the attack, there is reason to blame it on Saudi aggression. The hospital is supported by Médecins Sans Frontières, or MSF, an international medical group who reported the attack being the 3rd major attack on its medical centers throughout the 9 months of war.
MSF maintains that it was a projectile that hit the Shayar hospital in Yemen's northern province, Sada, saying it is still not clear who was behind the attack. However, this being the 3rd major attack within the 9 months of war, it is believed that Saudi aggression is behind it, having had responsibility for 2 previous attacks.
العدوان السعودي لا يزال مستمر في الاستهداف المستشفيات، فكان آخر جريمة له اليوم استهداف مستشفى رازح بصاروخ مباشر متشظي داخل المستشفى، مما أدى إلى إصابة الكثير من المراجعين المستشفى وأيضا العاملين في المستشفى.
MSF said Saudi-led airstrikes hit other of its health facilities, Hayden Hospital on November 27 and a Thais Health Center on December 3, 2015.
هذه تجاوزت كل الحدود. هذا المستشفى الثاني بالنسبة للمنظمات بلا حدود يتم قصفه، وأيضا إلى جانب المستشفيات والوحدات الصحية والمراكز التي تم قصفها.
In a separate incident, the state news agency reported a hospital in central Yemen in the Swati district of Baida province was hit by a Saudi-led coalition airstrike on Monday, January 11. Sada, a stronghold of the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels, has faced a particularly intense bombardment from the Saudi-led coalition supporting the Yemeni government. Lorraine Gabina, MTV World News.
Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula is making a new threat towards the United States. This comes from a man known for previous attempted bombings on American targets.
With ISIS dominating the headlines today, Al-Qaeda's master bomb maker made it clear that his terror group is still targeting the U.S. Ibrahim al-Asiri, speaking directly to Americans, vowed, "We will not leave you alone as long as we have a pulsing vein in us." Al-Asiri, a senior leader of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and widely considered the most creative and dangerous bomb maker in the world, designed the notorious underwear bomb intended to bring down a U.S. passenger jet on Christmas Day in 2009. His ability to make bombs that can slip past airport security is a primary concern of U.S. counter-terror officials, and one reason that U.S. intelligence views AQAP along with ISIS as the two most severe terror threats to the U.S. homeland.
Because al-Asiri has a capability that very few other members in al-Qaeda possess, we have to pay very close attention to what he says, because he may very well be able to carry out what he threatens.
Today, al-Asiri also directed his anger at Saudi Arabia after the kingdom executed several al-Qaeda militants as part of a mass execution earlier this month. Asiri said he knew many of them personally and vowed revenge. The reference to the executions that ignited large protests across the Middle East, a clear indication al-Asiri is still alive and still a threat. As is ISIS. In Iraq, 2 weeks after losing the western city of Ramadi, it launched two bold attacks today. Simultaneous coordinated assaults on a cafe and a shopping mall, killing more than 36 people.
Any time that they attack the capital, that ISIS can attack the capital of Baghdad or anything on the Syrian side in Damascus, is a big win for them because it shows the weakness of those particular governments.
Legendary British rock star David Bowie died yesterday at the tender age of 69 after a secret battle with cancer. Born David Jones in the Brixton area of South London, Bowie died peacefully surrounded by his family after a courageous 18-month battle with what is now believed to have been liver cancer. Despite his poor condition, the music icon and visionary was committed to his career, celebrating his 69th birthday by releasing his 27th studio album, Black Star, just 2 days before his death. The outpouring of tributes that have plagued social media since news of his death and various memorials held in Brixton outside a New York theater, his New York apartment and his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame shows the impact David Bowie had on the world and his fans. Bowie straddled the worlds of hedonistic rock, fashion, art and drama for 5 decades and shot to stardom with his hit Space Oddity in 1969. He is survived by his supermodel and philanthropist wife, Iman, daughter Alexandra, and son Duncan from a previous marriage. You're watching National MTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We'll be back with all the details after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Coca-Cola Epatas Cup CEO Timothy Lepa has announced that only 8 teams will be allowed to participate in the southern leg of the Coca-Cola Epatas Cup Challenge at the end of this month. The encounter will be staged in Port Moresby and is expected to attract participants as well as spectators from all over the southern region.
The 2015-2016 Coca-Cola Epatas Cup season is expected to be much better in terms of numbers. This season's challenge is likely to attract more participants who will be under strict screening by the tournament committee. Coca-Cola Epatas Cup CEO Timothy Lepa says the team screening was put in place as he believes there is a high quality of rugby league and professionalism from the NCD and Central teams. Preparations for the southern leg of the tournament are already underway following the announcement that only 8 teams will be allowed to participate from the 29th to the 31st of January 2016 in Port Moresby. The tournament will run for a month where the top 2 teams from each of the 4 legs of challenges will qualify for the final playoffs. The grand final will be played in mid-February in the Enga province. The tournament is sponsored by Coca-Cola and the Enga provincial government. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
Rugby league is used to distract youth from getting involved in drugs and other bad behavior. Coach for Mount Hagen Eagles and former Kumul's James Copps has been running an off-season league in Avi, Western Highlands for the last 12 years. Over the weekend, the Avi Settlers off-season league had its State of Origin Game 1, where all the best players in the competition were selected to battle it out.
Best players from all 6 teams are selected to form Team Blues and Maroons in the Avi Settlers League State of Origin match. For the last decade, a team of dedicated officials have been running the league without any major sponsor. The aim of the league is to keep the youths in the community away from drugs and alcohol.
The whole idea of this competition is so that maybe try to bring in poverty rate to community, or some try to do away with poverty to block. Plenty monkey because of no what good activities na, no what good something local community, all turn into drugs. It's plenty of community experience in the this led to get same kind of problem.
Avi Settlers off-season league has also produced some great names in the country's rugby league, including current Mount Hagen Eagles coach and former Kumul's James Copps. Avi Settlers League has also produced 5 players who are currently playing in the Intercity Cup, 2 of which are current Eagles players, brothers David and Ud Kawage. He says the league is also about getting the players exposed and possibly marketing talents to interested franchise teams who will be looking to scout raw talents.
Competition will transition much exposure, so we will expose them to talent or any other interested or franchise teams, so they like scout them on players. Maybe like trying to expose them to Magilos competition. That's the whole idea.
This year's state game is lucky to ever sponsor Solomon Korowa, a local who has pledged to sponsor 3 consecutive years. Game 1 saw the Blues winning with a score of 7, while the Maroons came out with 4 points short. Michelle Amba, National EMTV Sports, Mount Hagen.
The Rugby League International Federation has announced they will be reducing the number of interchanges from 12 to 10 starting this year. The rule change brings the international game into line with the Super League, which made a similar move in 2012. Although the NRL initially agreed to move to 8 interchanges this year, the agreement was recently finalized by the RLIF board. The new rule will be first implemented internationally at the Anzac Test, which will be held in Australia in May and will be then used in the 4-nation series to be held in the UK in October through to November. Meanwhile, the Rugby League International Federation Board has also added a division to the regulation announcing the eligibility of players in international fixtures. This division will see proper screening for players whose birth certificates show they were born in states which no longer exist.
In accordance with the Rugby League International Federation's 2016 laws and regulations, one section has been focused on the eligibility of players who have identified on their birth certificates that they were born in a state that is no longer recognized. The new rule allows players who wish to represent a national team to choose one entity that constitutes their birthplace. If the player wishes to represent another national team, he may not choose another entity that constitutes his birthplace, but an additional country altogether, considering the following guidelines: the country in which he was born, the country in which his parents or grandparents were born, and the country which has been his principal place of residence for a period of 3 years. Any national team who wishes to select a player in this situation may appeal to the Rugby League International Federation Board, where final decisions are to be made by the board and are not subject to change. Jaylee Sapies, National EMTV Sports.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. When Koryak Upaiga took the chance to leave Welgris in the early stages of the National Soccer League, he never thought playing for Hekari would have brought him this far. This has given him Oceania Champions League opportunities and a shot at the Club World Cup. The 26-year-old has gone where few Papua New Guineans have never gone before.
He started off his career playing as a defender before gradually moving into an attacking position
drifting out into the flanks. He combined well with Solomon Islander Tutizama Tanito for a devastating combination in 2015. With Koryak up front, he discovered more freedom of movement, able to slide easily between defenders and utilizing the best of his left foot. This has placed him at the top of both the Southern and Northern conferences with 9 goals. Playing alongside some of the country's best players, it has been a humbling experience for Upaiga, and one that he hopes that will one day be an example to the younger generation of PNG footballers. Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
To Taekwondo now, and 23-year-old Stephen Tommy is looking to defend his Taekwondo title in this year's upcoming PNG Games in Kimbe. He is currently in training with coach Sam Ware and veteran Jamuga Stone and will be representing Team NCD at the PNG Games.
3 times PNG Games gold medalist Stephen Tommy, who hails from Namatanai in the New Island province, has a big task ahead to prepare himself to defend his title at the PNG Games for the 4th time around. Tommy was also a recep at the 2015 Pacific Games for Team PNG in Taekwondo. He knows that these PNG Games will be tough as he will be faced with opponents from Cavian, Autonomous Region of Bougainville and East New Britain.
Last week, I start training again. So me prepare me can do, ready can do, defending title. Strongly believe I me but defending back title.
Stephen started his career with Taekwondo in 2009 when he was inspired by his member Byron Chan. Taekwondo is the sport that Tommy has the opportunity to take part in the next Pacific Games, not as a reserve but as a participating athlete, and maybe to the Olympics one day. Mike Hoime, National EMTV Sports.
The Murat Sports and Cultural Association is headed by President Jeffrey Gideon and was established in 1981. It is a biannual event where the people of New Ireland and other New Guinea Island provinces come together to compete in the sport of football.
Last year, Jeffrey and his team introduced basketball to the competition and also have decided to include cultural games like canoe racing, fishing, etc.
We'll have a sports festival in of course the Murat LLG, and of course it's something that it's a catalyst for something that we can have in the district. But at the moment we are just concentrating on football and basketballs.
The philosophy is to develop young players and to bring the level of sports to a higher standard.
And to encourage competition, and then it will be further supported by sports education courses in sports, very specific courses, and of course sports and exercise science and sports medicine.
Many teams from across the New Guinea Islands usually travel to attend the competition. 30,000 kina was given to the competition by New Island Open member Ben Micah to show his support. An additional 11,000 kina was given by the Sports Foundation. An NSL team from New Island may be included into next season's Telecom National Soccer League.
Honorable Ben Micah has made that announcement that in 2017, KVN, or through the competition that we have created, will be filling in a franchise team for the NSL competition.
Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
That ends Trukai Sports, but don't go away. We'll have for you the weather details after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
Taking a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours, first of all in the southern region. Port Moresby, Daru, Kerma, Alotau, fine, and mostly fine weather as well in Popondetta. To the Momasa region, mostly fine in Ley and Wau, cloudy in Madang, and brief showers expected in Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, brief showers expected in Lorengau, Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, and Kimbe, and fine weather expected in Buka. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi, and Wabeg. A look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. All waters of Papua New Guinea, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. The Coral Sea, seas slight with southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeast to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight with northwest to westerly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northwest to westerly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Now, the head of the UN relief efforts say about 400 starving people must be evacuated immediately from the Syrian city of Madaya, or they could die. The war in Syria has left thousands starving for food.
Certainly some respite today for the town of Madaya, which is held by rebels and besieged by government and its allies, and also two towns in the north, Fua and Kefraya, which are besieged by the rebels and loyal to the government. The complexity of today, though, quite clear in the fact that these two deliveries of aid to the north and to Madaya as well had to happen simultaneously and were lengthily negotiated with the assistance of the United Nations. But we are hearing from a UN source in that convoy that entered Madaya that an initial probe, a few cars went in through government checkpoints to ensure the convoy could continue through, and about 4 trucks initially went in carrying food barrels, their warm clothes. The children caught their air in cold temperatures, and then as night came, the rest of the convoy was supposed to head into that town. Now, of course, there are 40,000 people there, many say with extremely bad cases of malnutrition, and that number's in the hundreds, and 30 of whom have died since early December, according to activists in there. The pressure mounting on the Syrian government to let that aid in because of an intense campaign on social media highlighting the malnutrition inside that city. But the UN source in that convoy saying that as it passed through the checkpoints, they saw women, children, elderly weeping to see the sight of that aid coming in, and in fact locals offering them food inside their homes, even though all they had to offer them was simply water and spices. This a population that reports say have struggled to find any kind of food at all, who've had to pay $150 for a kilogram of rice, have resorted, say some reports, to eating household pets, even boiling and eating grass. Their deep levels of malnutrition, and which have affected the young and elderly, of course, as paramount. But at the same time, too, today, aid finally reaching the 20,000 people in the north, in Fua and Kefraya, who have not had much assistance at all since March of this year. Madaya in the south, not having seen aid since October. So a parallel process occurring here, one that shines a brief moment of a positive light upon this, but so many days of intense starvation and such a level of depth of low of humanity that was broadcast across social media with pictures of emaciated people purportedly from inside Madaya. But food being used as a weapon of war in so much of Syria for so long, this negotiation, frankly, coming at a low, really, in how the sides had been treating each other. But potentially in the days ahead, those in Madaya may begin to slowly see more food. Aid workers saying there they need regular deliveries, not one massive spurt, in order to be able to keep there live.
And before we go, recapping our main stories for tonight. A judge expected to make a ruling on Potape's application tomorrow. Female constable faces court today on charges of abuse of office, and husband of murdered wife refused bail. And that has been the news, sports and weather for today, Tuesday, the 12th of January 2016. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, I'm Mary Botulo. Pleasant viewing. Good night.